The hum of the shiny BMW's engine was a familiar symphony to Maya Santos, 25, as she meticulously worked under its hood. Yet, the discordant whispers of James Morrison, the car's owner, cut the metallic melody. "Are you sure that girl knows what she's doing?" he sneered to his assistant, his disdain palpable. "I mean, look at this place. It doesn't look very reliable." Maya pretended not to hear, but the familiar sting of prejudice was a constant companion, since she'd inherited her father's small workshop 2 years ago. Her father, Samuel Santos, a respected black mechanic, had built Santos Auto Repair on skill and trust over 3 decades. But to Morrison, a successful black daughter running the business was an anomaly, a sign of unreliability. "Mr. Morrison, I can assure you Miss Maya is one of the best mechanics in the area." Tom, the tow truck driver, interjected, sensing the tension. "She's fixed vehicles much more complex than this." Morrison scoffed. "And I should trust my $100,000 car to a little girl in a backyard garage?" He gestured contemptuously at the organized tools and oil-stained walls. "My lawyer is going to have a field day if something goes wrong. The problem is with the electronic fuel injection system," Maya stated calmly, wiping her hands on a rag. "I need to replace a few sensors and recalibrate the module. It'll be ready tomorrow morning." "Tomorrow?" Morrison exploded. "I have an important meeting tonight. This is unacceptable. Sir, with all due respect, it's almost 8 o'clock at night and the parts stores are closed," Maya patiently explained. "I won't be able to get the components until early tomorrow morning." Morrison ran a hand through his gray hair, visibly frustrated. "Fantastic. Just fantastic. First, my regular driver disappears into thin air. Now this..." He pointed an accusing finger at Maya. "If my car isn't perfect tomorrow, you'll be hearing from my lawyer." That same evening, as Maya was finishing up paperwork, a worn-out diesel truck rumbled into the workshop, belching smoke. A middle-aged black man, visibly exhausted, emerged. "Sorry to bother you so late," he rasped, his work clothes dirty from hours of driving. "My truck started losing power a few miles back. It won't get much further like this." Maya smiled genuinely for the first time that day. "No problem. Let's take a look." For 3 hours, she worked meticulously on the truck's engine. The man, who simply introduced himself as Robert, watched silently. "There," she finally announced, wiping her greasy hands. "The problem was the fuel pump. It should run fine now." Robert reached for his wallet, but Maya shook her head. "No charge. You seem to have had a rough trip. Just drive carefully." Something flashed in Robert's eyes, a mix of surprise and something deeper Maya couldn't quite place. "Are you sure? That was a lot of work." "I'm sure," Maya replied. "We all need a little help sometimes." Robert nodded slowly, a mysterious smile forming on his lips. "Thanks, Maya. You have no idea how much that means." As the truck, now purring softly, disappeared into the darkness, Maya couldn't have imagined that this chance encounter would change her life forever. What she didn't know was that Robert held a secret that would transform her small workshop in ways she could never have foreseen. The next morning, Maya arrived early to find an official health and safety inspection notice pinned her entrance. The inspection was scheduled for that afternoon, a coincidence too suspicious to be chance. At 9 a.m., Morrison arrived with a thin man in a gray suit. "Maya, this is Richard, my lawyer. He wants to document the condition of my vehicle before you. Try to fix it." Richard meticulously photographed every inch of the BMW. "Just legal precautions," he explained with a fake smile. "My client has rights to protect." Maya watched the charade in silence, remembering her father's words. "Daughter, when someone tries to humiliate you in public, it's because they're afraid of what you're capable of doing in private." Samuel Santos had faced decades of prejudice himself, building his reputation despite competitors who couldn't accept a black mechanic surpassing their skills. "My father built the shop's reputation over 30 years, Maya said calmly, adjusting her tools. "We've never had a single complaint or insurance problem." Morrison let out a cruel laugh. "His father, huh? Well, he's not around to fix the mistakes you're bound to make." He turned to Richard. Be sure to document that. 2. Admission of comparative inexperience. As Maya worked, Morrison loudly discussed unqualified people and expensive vehicles on his phone. Around noon, 2 city inspectors arrived, meticulously scrutinizing the shop. Maya knew who had called them. This workbench is 1 centimeter off the municipal standard, one noted, measuring with a millimeter ruler. And this fire extinguisher is 2 days past its recertification date. Maya took a deep breath, controlling her anger. Every minor infraction was noted, building a case against her, just as her father had faced similar bureaucratic persecution in the 1980s. You have 72 hours to correct these irregularities, the inspector informed her, handing her a list of 15 items. Otherwise, your license will be suspended. Morrison practically purred with satisfaction. Problems with the inspector? That's too bad. Maybe it's time to consider a profession more suited to your skills. That afternoon, after Maya finished repairing the BMW, which now ran perfectly, she received an unexpected call. Maya Santos, this is Amanda Richardson from Channel 7 News. We've received an anonymous tip about questionable practices at your repair shop. We'd like to do a story. Maya hung up without answering. Morrison didn't just want his money back. He wanted to destroy her. This was a systematic attack she'd seen break other small black business owners. When Morrison returned, he found his car purring smoothly. Even Richard, the lawyer, admitted, impressive. The repair was professional. Morrison quickly regained his composure. A broken clock works twice a day, he said dismissively. That doesn't mean the clockmaker is competent. As they left, Maya watched from the window. She didn't know that across town, Robert, the truck driver she'd helped for free, was reviewing financial reports for his $200 million trucking company. And she definitely didn't know that Morrison Development was circled in red on those documents, marked for special attention in his future contracts. Every humiliation Morrison inflicted only strengthened a quiet determination within Maya, inherited from generations of resistance. 3 days after the fraudulent inspection, Maya made a decision. Instead of simply reacting, she would hear father's final lesson. Daughter, when someone attacks you from the front, there's always a vulnerability hidden behind their back. For the first time in weeks, Maya smiled. If Morrison wanted to play dirty, she would find out exactly who she was dealing with. Initial research on Morrison Development revealed an impressive facade. A 15-year-old company, million-dollar city contracts, luxury residential The next morning, as she organized her new tools alongside her father's old ones, Maya received an unexpected visitor. Maya Santos. A well-dressed black man extended his hand with a genuine smile. My name is David Washington. I'm a labor lawyer. There was a sincerity in his eyes that made her lower her guard. I hear you're having some problems with certain businessmen in the area. David continued, looking around the shop with genuine interest. This place reminds me a lot of where I grew up. My uncle had a mechanic shop in the 90s. He faced similar harassment. Maya poured coffee as David explained. He represented several small black business owners systematically targeted by Morrison. He has a pattern, David revealed, opening a folder. First, he identifies thriving businesses in areas he wants to acquire. Then, he uses bureaucracy and political pressure to force them to close. How many others? Maya asked, feeling the weight of a larger reality. In the last 5 years, 11 businesses, all black or Latino-owned, all on land that was then coincidentally incorporated into Morrison's projects. David showed photos of vacant lots that had once been thriving small businesses. Your father faced his first attempt 3 years ago. Samuel managed to resist. Maya's chest tightened. Her father had never mentioned any problems with Morrison, always saying his illness had been his only battle. Now she understood why he'd been working so late, always double-checking the locks. Morrison has connections at City Hall, the fire department, the health department. David continued. But he also has vulnerabilities, many vulnerabilities. That afternoon, Morrison showed up at the workshop with a real estate appraiser, loudly discussing commercial potential and urban modernization needs. You know, Maya, Morrison said with fake concern, this area is being revitalized. Modern tech companies are interested in moving here. Maybe it's time to consider a career transition. The Santos family has been here for over 30 years, Maya replied calmly. We plan to stay for another 30. Morrison laughed dismissively. Sometimes stubbornness is mistaken for determination, but economic reality always wins, my dear. Always. That night, Maya stayed late, not fixing engines, but studying every document David had left behind. That's when she found it. A small footnote in a 2-year-old contract. Morrison Development had used the same real estate appraisal company in all previous cases, and that company belonged to Morrison's brother-in-law. Maya smiled, remembering her father's words. Prejudice makes people lazy. They think they're so superior that they don't need to hide their tricks. As Maya printed documents and organized evidence, 50 miles away, Robert was in an emergency meeting with his transportation company's directors. Spread on the table were contracts Morrison Development had unilaterally canceled a week before, worth millions. He doesn't know who he's messing with, Robert muttered, staring at a photo of Morrison. And he definitely doesn't know that the girl he's trying to destroy saved my company from a $500,000 loss on that stormy night. Maya locked the documents in a safe her father had installed years ago. She felt Samuel's presence, whispering strategies from a lesson he'd begun teaching her 3 years ago, one she was only now ready to learn. Morrison had made a crucial mistake. He assumed destroying the daughter would be easier than facing the father. He didn't know that every act of disrespect strengthened the determination inherited not only from Samuel, but from generations who had learned to turn injustice into fuel for unimaginable achievements. The following Monday, Maya found Morrison standing in her doorway with 3 men in dark suits. Their expressions were urgent, nervous. Maya, we need to talk, Morrison said, his arrogance faltering. A situation has arisen that affects both of our businesses. What kind of situation? Maya asked, watching sweat bead on Morrison's forehead. It seems some important contracts have been unexpectedly canceled. An accountant for Morrison Development explained. Transportation contracts that accounted for 40% of our annual revenue. Morrison cleared his throat, uncomfortable. Robinson Logistics canceled all of our agreements without warning. They claimed incompatibility of ethical values in business practices. Maya felt a tingle of recognition at the name Robinson Logistics, but Morrison looked desperately around. You can't prove anything. These are just business coincidences. Robert took out his phone and tapped the screen. Morrison's unmistakable voice began to come out of the speaker. This area is being revitalized. Modern technology-based companies are interested in moving here. Perhaps it's time to consider a career transition. Recorded 3 days ago, Maya explained calmly. State law allows recording on private property for security purposes. Morrison staggered, leaning on his car. This will ruin everything. We're not done yet, Robert announced, signaling to his third lawyer. Robinson Logistics has not only canceled all contracts with Morrison Development, it has also sent a detailed report to the City Council regarding discriminatory business practices, recommending a full investigation of all projects approved in the last 5 years. Maya watched Morrison realize the full extent of his downfall. It wasn't just about money. It was about the systematic destruction of his reputation, his future contracts, his standing in the business community. And Maya, Robert said, turning to her with a genuine smile, Robinson Logistics would like to offer you an exclusive maintenance contract for our fleet of 347 vehicles. A contract that will make this shop the most prosperous in the region. Morrison looked from Maya to Robert, finally realizing the devastating irony. The little girl he had tried to break had not only resisted, she had allied herself with someone infinitely more powerful than he had ever imagined. As Morrison and his associates withdrew in awkward silence, Maya remained at Robert's side, watching the man who had tried to destroy her life learn a lesson that would change everything forever. Sometimes, the person you underestimate has connections that can completely rewrite the rules of the game you thought you were winning. 6 months after that devastating confrontation, Maya Santos stood in the doorway of her completely transformed workshop. What had once been a small business struggling to survive had become the most respected and prosperous auto repair center in the entire region. The new sign gleamed, Santos and Daughters Specialized Auto Center. Founded by Samuel Santos in 1992. A family tradition since 1992. Robert arrived that morning driving one of his fleet trucks, as he did every Friday for their ritual morning coffee. Robinson Logistics not only maintained its exclusive contract, but had also recommended the shop to other transportation companies. "How are the numbers looking this week?" Robert asked, watching the constant stream of vehicles entering and leaving the expanded property. Maya smiled, wiping her hands on a rag, a gesture more symbolic than necessary now that she oversaw a team of 8 skilled mechanics. Record revenue for the 4th month in a row. And best of all, we were able to hire 3 more young people from the community as apprentices. Across town, Morrison Development faced its 3rd court hearing of the week. The investigations triggered by Robert's report had uncovered a web of corruption extending all the way to City Hall. 2 city council members had resigned. A city auditor faced criminal charges, and Morrison himself faced 17 different lawsuits. His once powerful company had lost all its government contracts. Banks canceled lines of credit. Morrison, who 6 months earlier had walked arrogantly through the corridors of power, now spent his days locked in a shrinking office, selling off properties to pay lawyers. "Mr. Morrison," his accountant said in a tense phone call, "we need to talk about personal bankruptcy options. Your remaining assets won't cover even 10% of your accumulated debts." At the Santos and Daughter workshop, Maya received a special visitor that afternoon. A delegation from the local Black Business Association arrived to formalize a deeply moving invitation. "Maya, we want you to be our representative on the city's Board of Trade," announced Dr. Patricia Williams, the association's president. "Your story has inspired the entire community. You have shown that it is possible to face systemic injustice and not only survive, but thrive in extraordinary ways." David Washington, now a close friend and legal advisor to the workshop, smiled. "Maya, you've accomplished something that goes far beyond saving your own business. You've transformed this entire region." It was true. The Morrison case had created legal precedents that would protect other small business owners. 3 other minority-owned businesses facing similar pressures were able to reverse their situations using the same legal strategies pioneered by Maya and David. That night, Maya stayed alone in the workshop, honoring her father's memory. She walked to his old workbench, now preserved, surrounded by new tools and modern equipment. "We did it, Dad," she whispered, gently touching a worn wrench. "Not only did we keep your legacy alive, we made it grow in ways you never imagined possible." A framed photo showed them years ago, smiling, covered in grease. Next to it, a recent newspaper article. Local businesswoman turns adversity into prosperity. Maya Santos becomes a model of resilience and success. The phone rang. It was Robert. "Maya, I just got an interesting proposal. Morrison Development is being auctioned off next week. Would you like to take a look at the properties? Some of them might be interesting for future expansion." Maya laughed softly. "Robert, I don't need his wreckage to build my success. What we have here is enough." "You're right," Robert agreed. "But I thought you might want to turn some of those properties into automotive training centers for young people in the community. Imagine, from the land where you plan to build another luxury complex, you could create real opportunities for people who need them most." The idea made Maya's eyes light up. It was perfect, literally turning Morrison's destructive plans into something that would lift up the entire community. 6 months ago, Maya was a young woman struggling to keep her family's inherited business alive. Today, she was a recognized business leader, community mentor, and symbol of intelligent resistance against systemic injustice. Her workshop employed 12 people directly and had inspired a support network protecting dozens of other small businesses. Morrison, who had tried to destroy her out of prejudice and greed, had lost everything: his company, his properties, his reputation, and his influence. More importantly, he had lost the ability to harm other vulnerable people forever. The true beauty of Maya's victory lay not only in the poetic justice of seeing the oppressor defeated, but in the positive transformation her resistance created for the entire community. She proved that the best revenge is not to destroy those who hurt you, but to build something greater than they could ever imagine. As she locked up the shop that night, Maya looked out the road where it had all started with a simple act of kindness to a stranger. That decision to help Robert for free had set off a chain of events that not only changed her life, but rewrote the destinies of countless others. Sometimes, the person you help without expecting anything in return has the power to completely transform your reality. And sometimes, the person who tries to destroy you out of prejudice ends up providing exactly the motivation you need to achieve greatness you never imagined possible. Maya learned that true strength does not come from fighting back, but from turning injustice into fuel for extraordinary achievements. Her father would be proud. She not only preserved the Santos legacy, but elevated it to heights that honored every sacrifice he made to pave the way.